You're listening to the Chat City interviews on 103.2 Preston FM.
And nice to welcome into the studio this morning. It's lovely to have Gail Newsham back in again. So, Gail, a very good morning to you.
Good morning, Ewan.
Now, every time I meet Gail, I am fascinated by the story of the Dick Kerr Ladies football team here in Preston. And again, just quickly, this came about because one of my colleagues here, Charles Cully, who does Speak Up Preston, he and I used to present, Charles still does the sports show on a Saturday, and I used to help him present it. And he mentioned to me one day about the Dick Kerr Ladies football team, and I'd not heard of them. And I then began to read some of the history and was absolutely just totally blown away by the history of this football team and by the crowds who were actually going to see them. And the team were there from 1917 to 1965, and there is a book that was released by Gail Newsham, and there's one about to come out again this week, which is a revised and updated one, which also contains new world records revealed. So if you have the book, you need to get this one because it's revised and updated. And if you haven't had the book so far, then you need to get this one because this is fascinating history about this city. And Gail's with me now. So I'm sorry that was a bit of a ramble, Gail.
That's all right.
There's just something about this story that absolutely fascinates me. And the fact that in some ways, if you didn't keep this alive, I'm not too sure that it would survive the way it deserves to because of the ladies involved in the team.
That's right.
And I mean, last time you and I met, you'd just done an interview for Japanese TV because the Japanese are fascinated about it.
That's right, yeah.
You've done interviews for what other...
Norway, NHK Norway, the biggest network in Norway. They're going to broadcast their programme in the autumn.
Right.
And I should have been doing one with Italian television just a couple of weeks ago, but I had to attend a funeral of one of the Dick Kerr Ladies, so I was unable to participate with them because they were only in Preston that morning.
Right. So we've had Norwegian TV, we've had Japanese TV, we've had Italian TV. Have we had the BBC?
Not recently. There is something in the offing with the BBC because of the anniversary of the First World War and women working in munitions and all that kind of stuff. But nothing's definite yet. But hopefully they'll be coming up to do some filming sometime soon. Granada Television were interested as well. They're also looking to do something about women in the war. So I'm pretty busy at the minute, people asking me for things with that. So
for our listeners who are not aware of the Dick Kerr Ladies team, tell us something about them again, Gail, about the history to them. Right,
well, they were formed in 1917 at the Dick Kerr factory on Strand Road in Preston to raise money for wounded soldiers. And the matron of the local military hospital approached the company to ask if they would help raise funds for the soldiers, and she thought a charity concert would be a good idea given the time of year, near to Christmas, and the girls thought it would be a better idea to have a game of football instead. So they challenged a nearby foundry, and they played the first game at Deepdale, Preston North End's home ground, on Christmas Day 1917 in front of 10,000 people.
Wow.
And they raised £600 for the wounded soldiers, which today would be worth over £38,000. So that was a pretty good start, and they went from strength to strength after that, playing football all over the country. In Boxing Day 1920, the biggest crowd ever recorded at a women's game, or a men's game in that respect, since records began in 1888, was at Goodison Park, Everton, when 53,000 people packed in to see them, with between 10 and 14,000 locked out. So that's a potential audience of 67,000 people. And that's without Twitter, without Facebook, without media hype. They all wanted to come along and see the Dick Kerr Ladies.
And that's what is fascinating about the story, the fact that they could command that kind of audience or spectators to go along and see them playing football in those days.
Yeah.
So after that first game, they then more or less began to play professionally.
Well, not professionally, no. They were still working full-time at the factory. But, charities placed more and more requests, put in more and more requests for them to play to raise money because, people needing help was at saturation point after the First World War, during the war. And that was the motivation for the team starting. But when the war was over, the girls wanted to carry on playing. Charities still needed the money. So everybody wanted to carry on, and so they did, and they just became the most successful football team I think that the world's ever seen.
And was there a kind of ladies' league football team in those days? Was there a ladies' league? How did they? I mean, they played other ladies' teams across the country, I take it.
Yeah, they were initially they were all munition workers and other factories, and that was the crux of it, how it all started. But Dick Kerr's. Obviously, they were very supportive of the team, and they went on from strength to strength. And there wasn't an exact league; it was just charities requesting a game, and local teams would play against them.
And some of the players, because you have met quite. How did you yourself get involved, Gail, with the interest in the team?
I was organising an international women's football tournament. Back in the 90s, and it was Preston Guild year, and I wanted to do something special, because we had guild status, and I was thrilled at that, being a Preston lass. And I just thought it would be a good idea to try to organise a reunion of the Dick Kerr Ladies. And I appealed to the local press for former players to get in touch, and the appeal turned out to be successful, and the team were reunited for the first time in almost 40 years at the football tournament that I used to organise. But it all stemmed from that, really. The first lady I went to meet after the appeal, she showed me a photograph of the team playing football in a field in Kirkham in the 1950s, and I couldn't believe how many people were on the touchline watching them, because nobody came to watch us when I were playing, and I couldn't understand this. And then the next lady I saw, she showed me some newspaper clippings from the Daily Herald in 1946, and it became obvious to me then that this was a bigger story perhaps than anybody realised, and if something hadn't been done then, it could have been lost. It would have been lost forever.
Do we know why they were drawing such crowds to go and watch them in those days? Do we know why people were turning out in the thousands? Because
they were a good football team. I remember interviewing a gentleman when I was doing the research for the book, and he went to watch them play during the general strike of 1926. And I said, well, why did you go along to watch them? And he said, quite simply, I wanted to watch a good game of football. And it wasn't the fact that they were women. He just wanted to see a good game of football, and the Dick Kerr Ladies could provide that.
And what about the kind of memorabilia now? Because, as you mentioned, sadly, one of the players passed away recently. Is there a collection of memorabilia somewhere kept in, to keep the memory alive and hopefully someday will be on public display?
I do have quite a collection, which I had loaned to the National Football Museum, but for reasons I won't discuss now, I ended up bringing them all back. Lost a bit of trust in them. So I would hope that one day it will be in the Harris Museum. I have been talking to them there, and they are interested in maybe putting on a display, but it apparently takes years to get an exhibition organised and set up. So maybe for the 100th anniversary, perhaps in 2017, there might be something that we can put on display somewhere.
I mean, it just seems fascinating in a way, though, that we have TV companies around the world who are taken by this story and want to cover the story and want to do interviews, and yet, sadly, somehow within our own city, we don't seem to have got the same recognition for them that TV companies in other countries have.
Yeah, I think it's like it's only women's football, so it's really not that important. But I think because of the FA ban in 1921, when they said that football wasn't a game for women, I think generations of people have been brought up to believe that football's not a women's game and they've no right playing it. And it's all been a big con, really, because women can play football, they can play it well. and they're more than capable of doing it. I mean, during the 1920s, when the Dick Kerr Ladies played, in 1921, they played 67 games of football all over the country while still working full-time at the factory. Wow. Now, top Premiership managers whinge and moan today, don't they, if their lads have to play 2 games a week because they're tired.
Yes.
Now, those women could do it, but then the FA turned around and said, well, you know, complaints have been made and we don't really think that it's a game for women, so you're not playing anymore.
Yes.
So consequently, we've had all these generations of people been brought up to believe exactly that. I think given a couple more generations down the line now, we won't be having these kind of conversations because it'll just be considered the norm.
So was an actual ban brought into place in 1921?
Yes. The FA banned women from using league grounds, and the ban lasted for 50 years. They finally lifted the ban in 1971. Right.
And in a way, was that what saw the demise over the years of the Dick Kerr Ladies football team?
Yes, but no, because they carried on playing until 1965. So, you know, the players were still there, and they were still a force to be reckoned with for many a year. It's only like when we got into the 60s that things started to, you know, they couldn't find any more players. Things started to wane, and they wanted to. In the end, they disbanded the team because they wanted to keep the reputation. You know, so they finished, you know, pretty much, you know, at the top. Before the reputation was tarnished.
So you got to meet or to know quite a few of the players then?
Oh yeah. They've become my extended family, really. You know, we've been on a wonderful journey together, and it's certainly been a life changer for me and for them too, because they would largely have been forgotten. And you know, some of the funerals of the ladies that I attend, where there would have been nobody there, now. You know, there's lots of people coming to pay tribute to them, and that's a blessing in disguise.
And did they talk within their own families about the team, or was it really with people like yourself? Did they actually recognise what they'd achieved with the team?
I don't think they realised just what an enormous contribution that they'd made to sport. I think we're all guilty of that, aren't we? We just do things and don't realise that one day we might have been making history. They just did it, and a lot of the time they didn't really talk about it afterwards. I talked to grandchildren of some of the ladies, and they know very little about it because when you're a kid you don't listen to your grandparents, do you? I was guilty of that myself. But you know, they just didn't talk about it very much at all.
And as you say, I mean, on the front of the book, it says football's best kept secret. And yet
absolutely.
It's a secret today, and yet there were thousands and thousands of people going to see them. When did they then play the last match?
In 1965, I think it was August. July or August, 1965. And the lady who was running the team then, Kath Latham, it was a heartbreaking decision for her, but you know, the girls were scattered all over the northwest, and sometimes they would turn up and they didn't have, you know, 11 players. There were no substitutes in those days, and it was getting increasingly more difficult to attract new players to come along. And so Kath just decided, you know, if she was going to do anything, she wanted to give it 100%. And she wasn't able to do that anymore because the players just weren't available. And
even when the FA brought the ban in, did the company continue to support the ladies in playing football?
Yes,
did they support them right through the years of playing?
They did up until 1926. Something happened, and I don't know what it was, but they sort of left the factory around about 1926, and they had to change the name to Preston Ladies. But they would still call themselves Dick Kerr Ladies, you know, in brackets afterwards. So they were always known as the Dick Kerr Ladies throughout their playing career.
And I would imagine that when you made contact with them in the first instance and said that you were writing a book about them, I would imagine that was a lovely surprise. And how did they receive that when you talked to them about that?
It was amazing, really. I remember one lady, Alice Norris, as she was called when she was playing. Her married name was Barlow. She played in the 1920s. And before that, before the ban, she was thrilled to bits that a book had been written about her football team. And she used to say to me, "I were proud to be a Dick Kerr's girl." She should have come to my book launch in 1994, actually, the first edition. But she was 89 by this time, and she was taken ill and went into hospital. But her daughter read her an extract of the book every day when she visited her. And Alice died on Boxing Day 1994, but not until her daughter had read her the last bit, so she got to hear it all before she went off. Yeah,
wow.
yeah, that's an absolute true story, is that?
Wow,
yeah.
What a lovely story.
Yeah.
And are there many ladies still alive that you're in touch with?
Yeah, but most of them are in their 80s now, and they'll be at the launch on Friday.
Wow.
June Gregson lives in Blackpool. Edna Broughton lives over Manchester way. Barbara Widows is coming over from Blackpool. But I've got a lady coming from... Frida Garth, who actually lives in Preston. Must mention Frida, although Garth's not her married name, and I don't know what it is, but she played under the name of Garth. But there's a lady called Mary Foster who's coming from Beverley over in Yorkshire, and she's not seen her teammates for over 60 years. So
wow.
It's a bit of a surprise sort of do on Friday. So that's going to be quite emotional, I think.
I was just going to say, it's going to be quite an emotional one. So when did you publish the first book then?
1994 was the first time it was published. And I've learned such a lot since then about the team and some of the ladies, their lives, their profiles. And it needed to be told, really, so that they all could have, some kind of recognition for the part that they played in this fantastic football team that belongs to Preston. Because,
it does show the dedication that you've given to it, doesn't it? Because have you done anything like this before, written books?
No. I wrote a few poems when I was younger, but never attempted anything so daunting as writing a book. When I first actually said the words, I'm going to write a book about this football team, I was scared because I didn't know what to do. But it was uncanny how everything sort of fell into place when I would go and visit somebody and they'd tell me one story, and then I'd go somewhere else and they'd tell me the next bit, and it also seemed to fit in together. It was like it was all meant to be. I think if I was sent onto this earth for one reason only, it would be to tell the Dick Kerr story, then that was it, But yeah, it's been an amazing journey for me too. I've loved it. I've loved meeting the women and finding out all about them, and hopefully being their voice and keeping the name alive.
So this Friday, it's the launch of the revised and updated book with new world records revealed.
Yes, absolutely.
And probably lots more information, as you say, that now is updated on knowledge that you've gained and insights into the team over the years.
Yeah.
And so where are you having the launch then?
It's at Banbury Bridge Football Club. It's a private function, but I'm having it there because that's where I first met the very first Dick Kerr Ladies player, and that was Brenda Eastwood. And if I'd never met Brenda, none of this would have ever happened. And there's still a memorial plaque to Brenda behind the bar at the in the clubhouse, because she was a staunch Banbury Bridge supporter. So to me, it was just the the perfect place to be. It's like ending the journey there, where it began, really. And the venue, I could have. There's 150 people coming, I think, but I could have had loads more coming, but it's just going to be a very special and emotional night for everyone that'll be there.
And what would you like to see here in Preston in the future? In the way of something to take the memory of the ladies forward and of what they achieved within the city. What would you like to see in the future?
Well, there's these blue plaques all over the place for other things, isn't there? There could be something like that for the Dick Kerr Ladies. We've got a Tom Benson Way, we've got Sir Tom Finney Way. There could be something for the Dick Kerr Ladies or some of the players themselves, names. Alice Kell was the first ever captain of the team. Certainly an exhibition somewhere to show off the memorabilia that's there, to tell the story. They just need to be recognised and get the accolades that they deserve, and Preston should be proud of them.
Yes, certainly agree with that. So it's the book, it's in a league of their own. It's the Dick Kerr Ladies 1917 to 1965, and as it says on the front of the book, football's best kept secret. So Gail, where can people get a copy?
It's on. You can order a copy on Amazon for definite, and it's on the websites for all the booksellers. So if if you went to Waterstones, they should be able to order a copy in for you, because I've published it myself. And once we get it on Amazon, I think we'll take it from there. And I think the Harris are going to stock some eventually when we come, get things sorted. But certainly you'll be able to order it on Amazon as your first port of call.
Right, can I thank you for coming into Chat City again this morning? And I know that the launch will be a special evening, and as you said, I'm sure it'll be a very emotional evening as well.
Oh, thanks, Hughie. It's been lovely to talk to you again.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, you will probably just notice I put the same track on. I got so engrossed talking to Gail there about the Dick Kerr Ladies team that I pushed the wrong button. So let's rectify that right now.
If you've got news, views or events you'd like to share with us and the Chat City team, why not give us an email? chatcity@preston.fm.